Hello friends, I'm Kayla, and I'm taking these casual Wednesday videos to a whole nother level by just sitting in my vehicle and filming something. I just got back from 4 days at a cottage on the lake with a bunch of girlfriends. I was like, I'm supposed to get a Wednesday video up, but I don't have any ideas. Like, my brain is just in a different place, so I don't know, maybe I just won't post. And then I had to drop off a prescription and I had to drop off Liam at school to do an exam. He's sick, but he's going in for an exam. And my prescription's going to take an hour. I am, unfortunately, having another allergic reaction. But at least this time, I know what caused it. I was thinking if I leave the house wearing red, maybe it'll just blend in. You won't notice. Or like the public won't notice how red I am and itchy and hot and uncomfortable. But I ran out of, this is my total bad, I ran out of my face cleanser, and so I used a different one, and that was a mistake. I was trying to figure out what kind of video can I film while I'm just sitting here. I don't need to be prepared. I don't need to have any books with me. What can I talk to you about? And against my better judgment, I'm gonna do a little 5-star prediction. I told myself years ago I wasn't gonna do this again because I did a 5-star prediction video and then made an entire series out of it, and I didn't end up with a single 5-star by the end. It was a year-long series. There was 10 to 12 videos, 24 books, no 5 stars. So clearly I don't know, like I can't predict my own taste. I don't know anything about myself, but alas, here we are, it's a Wednesday and I need to talk to you. So I'm gonna go through Goodreads and see the 2025 releases. I'm gonna give you 10 of them that I think will be 5 stars, and they're going to be informed, I think. This will be different than my most anticipated book releases of 2025. That's gonna come out during the 10 to 12 days of La Miss that are coming. This one is about ones that I actually think will be favorites, and it'll give me a piece of content to react to at the end of the year. And hopefully, Kayla from the future, half of these you're correct about, or you're never allowed to do this again, okay? Number 1 is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. Reason number 1, it's an author that I've read from before, read twice before, and I've given 4.5 or 5 stars to both of those, and I adored them. So like, she does family dynamics, she does like inner turmoil of characters, and also there's a little mystery moving the plot along, not so much so that it doesn't feel like literary fiction, just a little something. And this one has more of a mystery than the other two, from what I understand. Also, I love books set on islands, and this is set on an island. It follows a mysterious woman who washes ashore at this island. So the mystery is, who is she? Where does she come from? It's like near future, typically, her books. There is a technology component to some of them. She often talks about climate change. I think that's going to be a win for me. And what this story is about, beyond this woman washing up, is the isolation and how it started to impact this family. So we're following an 18-year-old guy. He's recently heartbroken. His 17-year-old sister, who's like sleeping on the beach every night. A 9-year-old boy who like loves nature and feels like the world is losing its natural self. And then Dominic, the dad, lost his wife. And that's the reason I think that, and that's what drove the family to the island to begin with. And then this woman washes ashore, she's alive, they nurse her back to health. But the question is, how did she get there? And then she discovers things about Dominic, the dad, like secrets that he might have. And I think it's just all about if they can trust each other and being together. It comes out in March. I think it's gonna be cool that her first book that I read from her followed like one single character. The second one followed sisters, more or less. We still had a main character. This one still feels like a main character, but there's more of an ensemble, and just getting more perspectives, I think, requires more skill, and I just can't imagine myself not loving this. Number 2, I'm going to say Adrift in Currents, Clean and Clear. This one comes out in January. It's the 10th book, I think, in the Wayward Children series, which, with the exception of whatever one was about like unicorns and ponies and kelpies, I'm specifically not very into mythological creatures very often. All the other ones I've given a 4 and a 5, majority 5s. And this one takes place in an underwater world, and that just sounds completely up my alley. It also is following a character we've met before, Nadia. The Wayward Children series follows Eleanor West, and she creates this home. She supports all of these children who go to these fantasy worlds, find these portals to the places they truly belong, and then can't return, because if you go into them, sometimes you have to choose if you ever want to return, if you can find the way back out. Maybe if you leave, you can't come back. And coping. It's coping with things. And for Nadia, this story is going to fill in the blanks of like another book in the series. I think that'll be really satisfying. And she wants to escape her adoptive family. They have different thoughts on things. They're not really respecting her wishes in regards to her prosthetic arm. And her underwater world has like majestic turtles and like sailing ships that sail underneath the water. There are dangerous trials she has to go through. And I just think it's going to be really special. So that's my number 2. Number 3, we're going to go with Eat the Ones You Love by Sarah Maria Griffin. Getting a 5-star young adult horror is pretty rare for me. So the fact that Other Words for Smoke did that relatively recently, I think makes her coming out with an adult horror very appealing, because I can't imagine myself not loving it. It also seems to be based on Little Shop of Horrors, which is one of my favorite movies and one of the only musicals I can even stand. Plus it's queer and it's from Tor. It's just like, it sounds like everything that I need. Basically, we have a main character named Shell. She gets a job at a flower shop and she's in a really transitional point in life, so she's making a lot of changes. And Neve, the florist, they're falling for each other, but there is an orchid there growing out of control named Baby. And Baby is very possessive over Neve, to the point that I think he's trying to eat her. So these people have to survive that. And I think there's just a lot of metaphor in here. It's about possession, monstrosity, but also it's going to be a fun kind of retail job book, which I often like. That one comes out in April. I think The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas is one that I'm going to immediately pick up upon release and believe that I'm going to love it. Again, both of her other books that I've read were 4.5 or 5 stars. And this one comes out in August. I think it'll be the one to get the really full confident 5. She does gothic, horror, romance, really, like, for somebody to get me to love a historical novel is a feat. So Isabel Cañas definitely does that. It's set in 1765 and Alba flees from the plague with her parents and fiance to the family mine. And then she starts to suffer from hallucinations, sleepwalking, convulsions. And we also have another main character, Elias, who is the cousin of Alba's betrothed. And he starts to fall for her. And he's noticing that, I don't know, it says he notices the demon's thirst for blood, which and what it's doing to Alba. And what does that mean? If he recognizes the demon's thirst, is it his thirst? Is it her betrothed? Or is it like a demon in the cave? I don't know. But it says they get entangled with the occult and there's a lot of long kept secrets. I just think it sounds pretty perfect for me, which is not something, this wouldn't have been a 5-star prediction from me, say 5 years ago. But because I know this author and I love her stuff, and I know she is popular, but so many people who I have things in common with, they don't love her books the way that I do. I just think that this is very special and just for me. Number 5, this is Remaining Very Informed. These are authors I've read from before. All of this makes sense. This is a recently announced one, Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This is another author that not everybody's really into. I find when I recommend her books to other people, it doesn't always go over well, but I've given everything from her a 4 or a 5 star. Even the things that I don't typically like road trip stories, she wrote a road trip story that I gave a 4. And this is about a retired serial killer. I think it's fun that publishing right now, there's a lot of featuring of older characters, protagonists. And one of the covers looks like a cozy vibe. So I do think, sometimes I think that her book covers don't perfectly represent her stories because they are a little on the goofy side. They're not really serious thrillers. Dark things happen for sure, murder and death and intensity, but they seem to me self-aware and a little tongue-in-cheek, like the book knows that it's being a little bit silly. So Lottie, decades ago, changed her identity and she's been living a safe, peaceful life. And an investigative journalist shows up on her doorstep asking questions about unsolved cases from the past. And now Lottie has to decide if she wants to kill this person to keep her secrets. I wonder if we're going to get insight into the murders or if there's going to be a good reason for the murders, or I assume there's going to be some twists and turns as Samantha Downing usually does. A little reveal would be interesting here. This comes out in August and I can't wait to read it. Then what I think would be on a lot of people's 5-star predictions is Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. I think R.F. Kuang can do no wrong. obviously. It's about two academic rivals who must travel to hell to rescue the soul of their advisor. Like, that just sounds perfect. It sounds like it's for me. It comes out in August. I expect it to have a lot of lush description. It's rivals to lovers, which sounds so fun. They go to Cambridge, so I think there's going to be a lot of pretension within the pages, which I love. I want to see the cover so bad. I just want to know what it's going to look like. I'm going to read it regardless. I just want the cover to be really beautiful and sit on my shelves as a 5-star forever and ever. There's not that much information about it, but obviously that's going to be a 5-star for me. The next one, number 7, I think is a little less informed. However, it's my favorite series of all time and the adaptation of it. So how could it not be a 5-star? I don't like graphic novels. I don't like looking at pictures. I don't like animated movies. I don't know what that says about me. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about that, but I just think that because there have been the occasional graphic novel, just objectively I've given a 5, and by some I mean 1. There's been 1. I just can't imagine myself after 10 years of reading this series not just being so enthralled by seeing for the first time my favorite scenes on page. The story is by Maggie Stiefvater. The art is by Sass Millage. And I don't even know anything. Like, are we going to get all 4? Or is one book being split into multiple graphic novels? So much I feel like happens that I'm scared to find out what scenes have been cut, because it's been adapted by somebody specifically for the graphic novel who's not Maggie Stiefvater. And obviously Maggie Stiefvater has to approve everything, but it can't have everything. It's like when you watch a movie adaptation and you're like, what about that scene? What about this scene? I'm also trying to figure out how to make content about this without showing you every single page of the graphic novel, because I'm gonna want to geek out about the things in my mind and how what I'm seeing on page either meets or doesn't meet like my expectations or what I see in my head. I was gonna tell you right here what are some of the scenes that I really want to see in the graphic novel, but maybe that could be a part of the content. I will list all of the things that I want to see, and then I'll let you know if it did it in a way that I like. We're already at number 8. I only have 3 more to choose, and I might regret this one, but I just have a feeling that Hot Wax by ML Rio is gonna be a 5. If We Are Villains is one of my favorite books. I think about it often. I'm scared to ever reread it. I think I should, but I can't. And I recently read Graveyard Shift, even for the Literally Dead Book Club. We had a whole discussion about it if you want to know my nitty-gritty thoughts and why I gave it a 3, hovering 2.75. I just think that ML Rio does ensemble cast so well. And even with the novella and my rating of it, I loved it. I just think it was incomplete. I think it wasn't a fully formed book, and that made me really disappointed because there was so much potential. And the fact that we're finally getting a whole novel, side note, this isn't the actual cover apparently. I hope that the cover does keep these vibes, because this is like fun. I love this. Questionable because I haven't, loved a book from her in 8 years, but she also hasn't published a full-length book in 8 years. And also, it might have some road trip vibes, and it might have some conversations about fame. So this one, you might tell me, should not be on my list. But from what I know about it and what I love about her writing, I'm just gonna put it here. It's set in the 90s, love that. It's got rock and roll, love that. It follows a band of rocker misfits who could have catapulted into fame, but didn't. So I don't think it's gonna be just like rock stars on the road. I actually think, from what I understand, it's about one of their daughters and her experience on the road with this band, and then also her maybe current day, or her part is in the 90s, and I don't know, but her grappling with like her life now and witnessing violence that reminds her of being on the road. I don't know if this is like a mystery, a thriller, or horror. I don't really get the vibes, but I'm going to read it and I'm going to give it a 5. Number 9 feels a little uninformed because I've never read from this author, but I know so many people have a lot of appreciation for his work. And this one comes out in February. It's called One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. And it's just about the idea that many people, and especially Western society, like to think that they would take a stand against genocide, that the genocide in our history books is inconceivable, and like, how did anybody let that happen? And that could never happen now. But it is, it's happening right now. It's been happening, and people are turning a blind eye to it. And there's a big critique of Western imperialism and neoliberalism. And this author offers a path from, this reviewer said, a path from collective grief to collective action. It's really unfortunate that the people who could gain the most from this, who have negative opinions about Palestine, are probably not going to be the ones who would be picking this up. So I'm going to read it when it comes out in February. I'm sure it's going to be a 5-star, and I'm excited to be able to recommend it to people, push it on people. And finally, oh gosh, see, like is the Riley Sager coming out a 5-star prediction of mine? Is the Victoria Schwab? Is the Vaishnavi Patel? The Rory Power? The Kate Folk? The Ashley Winstead? Julia Bartz? Stephen Graham Jones? El Cosmato? Grady Hendricks? Stephen King? Are all of these 5-star predictions for me? No. Do I want to read them? Absolutely. I think I actually have to pick something that is a wild card from an author I haven't read, a concept that I've never read, that I have I just need a random one in here, because it is often that books that aren't on my most anticipated lists are my favorites at the end of the year. So we're gonna say The Baby Dragon Cafe by A.T. Qureshi is a 5-star prediction. After all the comments asking me to read dragon books and make a dragon vlog, and my reluctance to do so, I think I'm going to do it. With dragon books, you might not want me to read or prioritize, and I'm going to fall in love with some of them and give this a 5. It's a mix, apparently, between Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Legends and Lattes, but no steam in it. It comes out in January, and it's a cozy romance. It is about a coffee shop where the dragons roast the coffee. Dragon roasted coffee. How cute is that? We have Saphira, who runs the cafe, and then there's Aiden, who's a local gardener, and his baby dragon is causing him trouble, and so he's going to hire her to train the baby dragon, and that's what's going to keep the cafe afloat. It's Grumpy Sunshine, and apparently fake dating at some point, and I just think that I could love it. I may not typically gravitate towards mythological creatures, but now, after 10 years on BookTube and saying I would never read a dragon book, maybe it's time for me to read a dragon book. Not the romantic-y dragon stuff, but cutesy dragon cafe stuff. Those are my 10 5-star predictions for 2025. I'm sure I have 5-star predictions like sitting on my shelf, older books, backlist books that I will prioritize and I think I'll love, but these are the brand new releases that I'm absolutely going to hold myself to reading in 2025. So at the end of the year, I can do a reaction to what I just said and maybe laugh at myself or cringe or agree. Maybe they'll all be 5 stars and I'm just on a whole new path with being able to predict my own feelings about things. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the weekend with something else, probably just my wrap up for the month. And I don't know. Bye.